just about had a bushfire here.
Just about.
That's what happens when you put candles under your flower arrangement. To Sam, Sofala Cuckoo. It's all been local this last couple of weeks. There's a local tune, calling local, Sofala, Hill End, just up the road.
Anywhere around Wiradjuri country. We're here in Millthorpe. Welcome to Saturday Streaming, number 2 for 2022.
Cultural care packages, them out.
It's lots of Richie Benno this month, Two.
Yes, true.
It's Roadie month. Hello, Dot. Hi. And Jeff. Oh, good to have some company. Welcome to Saturday Streaming. My name's Jason. This is Chloe. For those who are tuning in for the first time, and we're situated just in the foothills of Canobolis in Millthorpe here, Spring Grove as we call it, and it's all been about home. That tune was close to home, and this next piece is all about home too.
It is. It's a song we've sort of cobbled together. So some words from Henry Lawson, nice short set of words, but about a subject dear to my heart, which is the good old Concertina. Mike Martin said to us years ago, we should really set that one to a tune. And he was right.
Mike
we should have. Yeah, he did. He had a different one in mind, though. I remember which one he had in mind.
Dave DeHugo sang it too, I remember, but I don't remember the tune he used.
No. Now, we've used Joe Yates's Happy as a Big Sunflower, speaking of Mike Martin.
And
Mike
Joe
introduced us to Joe Yates's tunes, yes. And we've stretched it and adapted it a bit. And just in case you couldn't quite hear the tune, we then play it. And a couple of other tunes along the way. The one at the end is Harry
Schaeffer's Quadrille
tune.
Yeah, beautiful melody from Grenfell. So it's all Henry Lawson tunes, and cheers to Henry, the man on the cup, the man on the mug.
Wet the whistle. Don't worry, I'm not going to whistle.
And if you're not familiar at all with where we are, yes, Wiradjuri country, this large, beautiful part of the middle of the tablelands, central tablelands in New South Wales. Huge bit of home for us and home for many tens of thousands of years for the Wiradjuri people. We're particularly pleased to call it home ourselves.
It was merry when the hut was full of jolly girls and fellows. We danced and sang until we burst the concertina's bellows. From distant Darling to the sea, from the Downs to Riverina, has e'er a gum in all the West not heard the concertina? was peaceful round the campfire blaze, the long white branches o'er us. We played the tunes of bygone days to some good old bush chorus. Old Erin's harp may sweeter be, the Scottish pipes blow keener, but sing an old bush song for me to the good old concertina.
Getting rusty and the ringer's caving in. His bandaged wrist is aching with the pain. And the second man, I fear he's gonna make it hot for him, unless we get another fall of rain.
It was cosy round the hut fire bright when the pint pot passed between us. We drowned the voice of the stormy night with the good old concertinas. Though trouble drifts along the years and the pangs of care grow keener, my heart is gladdened when it hears that good old concertina.
Good old concertina. We've had lots of fun locally this week with music. We've done something we've been wanting to do for the odd decade or two, which is get up to St Mark's and do some recording in the little hall just behind the church. We can see it from our house, just up behind the camera.
Particularly beautiful place to sing and play. Actually, the stringed instruments sounded gorgeous.
Yeah. Lots of different sounds and lots of different lights coming in all the different windows. And we're on our way to creating 17 odd different clips of songs for our Patreons. Our wonderful patrons. Thank you, guys. Hi, Judy. Hi, Brian. Hello from Eastbourne in the UK. Well, we know some people from Eastbourne in the UK. Maybe we'll find some friends in common. Hey, look, Chloe.
Right.
Who's coming in first? Oh, my goodness.
She's excited.
Joanna's coming with a new poem. Hello, Joanna.
Hi, guys.
Hi. So you've found this new poem just today, really, haven't you?
Yes, that's today.
Mm-hmm. You want to give it a crack?
Yeah.
You're all dressed up in your sort of... Well, you look like you're ready for the beach. Is that right?
Not really.
No, not really, no. It hasn't been a beachy kind of a summer in Millthorpe, really. We haven't had much hot weather, have we? Well, none. All right, Joanna's got a song for swimming at the beach on a Millthorpe summer.
Here it is. Baby Asleep by Philip Waddell. My feet are in a thing called freeze. Now my ankles. Now my knees. Should I duck now like I planned? Or should I run back to dry land? It feels too cold. And I don't feel brave.
Oh, no.
Oh no, too late. I'm also away.
Good one, Span. I like it. I like it. What do you think, folks? It's going to work?
Yeah,
I think it's going to
Good
work.
one. Yeah.
you want to do your knock knock joke
Yeah.
to say goodnight?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Good night.
Hang on. Try that again.
Good.
Good who?
Good bye bye.
Thank you, Joanna. Nice big bow. Very good. And welcome for the first time in 2022 to the
Yay.
microphone. Something you found today, dear?
Yeah. I was we dropped that. I was actually looking through our poetry books today when I came across this one, so I haven't had much time to practice, but it just, I read it and I thought, I can't not. You know when you find a really good piece of writing and you just can't not? Yeah.
So who wrote the good bit of writing, do we know?
Oh, Will Carter.
Will
Whole book of
Carter.
that.
Okay. Yeah, his name crops up in all the old ballad books. I'll leave you with it. Have fun.
Alrighty. If I had but the voice of the singer I heard, soft as whispering breeze, clear as call of the bird, I would list mountain echoes, the ripple of streams. I would mingle at morn with the birds in the beams, hear their vespers at eve in the day's dying glow. I would learn through the night what the nightingales know. I would steal the wild notes of the lyrebird's song, and I'd practice each trill through the bright summer long, and then sing till I cheered every heart that was sad, till solaced each soul that had gone to the bad. I would sing to the lost with resistless appeal, till I brought them to hope, till I brought them to feel the true gladness of life with the music and word, if I had but the voice of that singer I heard.
Hey.
Thank you.
Very nice choice, Megan Jean. Thank you, kids. Thank you, Megan, raising the tone of the show.
Definitely.
It has been about home. It's been about having fun with the kids. Back to school the last couple of weeks. So lots of work going in. Do some good lessons. And yes, working on our Patreon clips for all our, from our St. Mark's recordings. We'll get to that. But it has been about home. And one of the things that's funny about living in the tablelands here is once the Ned Kelly outbreak of violence there sort of came along, out the bushranging here had been largely kind of quelled, squashed, and so our connections to the Kellys were kind of, it was all through the folklore, like Dan Kelly coming and living, didn't die in the fire and coming and living at Lagoon. I think he's still there, isn't he? Dan Murphy, he's got the bottle shop in Bathurst now.
Oh no, that's Dan Murphy.
Dan Murphy,
Wrong
different,
one. Wrong one.
And Ned himself coming shearing through this country and that little further just to the north and west of here into the marginal country, being a shearer. But really the deepest connection we have to that Kelly era, that late 19th century era of bushranging or political unrest, or call it what you will, is the sort of the rest of Kate Kelly's life, which is Kate's in the cemetery here at Forbes, a place in bushranging terms better known for Ben Hall and Johnny Gilbert and what have you.
Yes, she's in fine company. Yes, Kate Kelly ended her life there. After quite an interesting, I believe wasn't she riding horses, trick riding for a while?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a beautiful ballad that we're going to sing for you. And it conflates a little bit, I think, what perhaps Kate and Maggie might have done together, but it gives you a strong impression of let's just say the power of these girls, the strength of their character.
You find this one is more sort of flowery and ornate, and I guess some would say complete text in some of the old ballad books.
Yeah,
Same
we
sort
sing
of
the
place.
slightly less flowery version. I
Most
think.
of ours come from either the Jim Lowe version, which is again interesting, it connected to this area a bit. Jim Lowe was up in New England, and also the version from the Bennett brothers there at Gunnedah. So that's where mostly where our version comes from. Often called Ye Sons of Australia, lurking in the same kind of book where that Will Carter is Megan's poet is lurking. Yeah, one of our favourite ballads. We are all well, Sam, thank you. I hope you are
really.
too, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Keeping well.
Sorry, I was just remembering hearing this at Kiama all those years ago.
Maroon,
Yeah,
Barry
Maroon.
McDonald and the whole,
It was beautiful.
wonderful band. Where the sunlight On the Dewdrop Shines. Yeah, one of my favourite records. Any kind.
Come all you Australians, forget not your braves. Bring wild forest flowers to strew the graves for daring outlaws whose race it is run. Find a place in their tombs for the laurels they've won. To the bank of Australia they made their first push. They cleared out the gold, then they steered for the bush. Black trackers and troopers they did them pursue, but they cast out their anchors when near them they drew. The noble Kate Kelly, so noble of mien, as she sits on a horse like a true-born queen, she rides through the bush with revolver in hand, well guarded from danger, but David she stands. May the angels protect this lady so bold. May her name be regarded in letters of gold. Though her brothers were outlawed, she loved them full dear, and she hastened to warn them when danger was near. One night at Glenrowan, how awful the doom. Steve Hart and Dan Kelly were burnt in a room. A trooper named Johnson set the house all aflame. Ah, to burn these bold outlaws, it was a great shame. The daring Kate Kelly stepped out from the crowd, and for her bold brother she shouted aloud, "Ah, come Ned, dear brother, come fight while you can, for the flames they have taken the life of poor Dan." The daring Ned Kelly stepped out from the bush, well clad in steel armor, his way he did push. To gain his bold comrades it was his desire, but the troopers soon spied him, they opened fire. The bullets glanced off him as off a stone wall. His fiendish appearance soon did them appall, but his legs, unprotected, a trooper soon found, and a ball well directed brought Ned to the ground. This hero was captured, stripped of his mail, well guarded by troopers and landed in jail, convicted of murder which grieved him full sore, and his friends and relations for his life did implore. Come all you Australians, forget not your braves. Bring wild forest flowers to strew the graves of four daring outlaws whose race it is run. Find a place in their tombs, 'cause, for the laurels they've won.
Ye Sons of Australia, or Kate Kelly as we call it. Yeah, all about home and thinking about home. You're thinking about Kate Kelly. See, Mum, I've tuned in. Catch the kids, I hope, Mum. That'd be good. And maybe one of the reasons we're thinking about home a lot is because we're home a lot. It could be interesting time with the old COVID situation. We're really enjoying being back doing Saturday streaming. It's a lovely sort of thing in our, to kick it all off again. We enjoyed last 2 weeks ago, and we've got, we think, a new model. We're trying to change it a little bit every time, make it new. I think maybe that's what's helped to spark us along the Patreon road, which we're really glad we've sort of got into. Thank you for the kick along out there. So there's now a couple of different ways you can, if you'd like to, support either the streaming or the other work that we do. We have the regular $3 a month up to as much as you want, really. And lots of people are choosing to help, which is very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Having people support your art in that fashion makes you feel, confident and also just a bit more driven. It's like, right, well, we need to produce things now. It's great. It's given us a real incentive, actually, to get on with recordings and to be generally productive. It's really helpful.
Not that we don't feel that anyway, but it really makes very specific demands on your kind of intent, doesn't it?
Yes.
It feels like it does. So we were reluctant at first to get into that model, but it's working very nicely. And Dot just this evening signed on as a patron. Thank you, Dot. And we'll have those St. Mark's recordings pretty soon. We're a little bit ahead of where I thought we'd be with the work on. Or you can just donate or buy an album through the website. And maybe another reason we're thinking about home is because after wandering around like, I was going to say, gypsies or idiots or both, for all of my life and most of our lives together, we finally came back here to, I think, the little village we thought we'd live in for a long time. We had our eye on anyway. 20 years ago this year, isn't it? I think about it. And that same year we bought the house here in Millthorpe. We also, well, for me, I went out of Australia for the first time on a few weeks in a tour to South Africa, which was not meant to be a musical tour, but I think I did more gigging on that tour than some other.
We did get to play quite a bit of music. Yeah. But it was fun. But it was a tour to see the family, really. My cousin was getting married, and a lot of my relatives live on farms in South Africa, and this was our chance to visit them. But one of I came back with a couple of songs actually from stories that people told me while we were there, and this one that we're going to sing now was told to us by Leonora, who was a lady working as a maid in my dad's cousin's house in Cape Town. So in very lush, just beneath Table Mountain, there's some very beautiful old suburbs there. And they live in Newlands. And she was working there as a maid, and she had barely any voice left, hardly any voice. And she explained to us why she had no voice on a Monday morning. And it was a revelation.
Sorry to interrupt. It was one of those situations that happened a lot in South Africa where people seem to be able to, say, play music proactively because they wanted to see it happen. And so it had been encouraged that we would swap songs with Leonora before.
Yeah, no,
but
she was happy to sing, but her not much voice left,
the folks we were staying with weren't even home anymore. But the kind of meeting had been arranged, and Leonora's voice might have been a whisper, but it was still pretty awesome, wasn't it?
It's Monday morning in the Newlands leafy stillness. I stand quietly to hear as Leonora speaks. She stands surrounded by the shining tiles still gleaming from her labour in this house where she works half the week. She has a second job at another house nearby where the children grow up bright-eyed, plump and sleek. But it's Sunday that she talks about as we lean in to listen, struggling to hear as Leonora speaks. Leonora sings on Sundays in the township down below. is up above the throng. With a choir she will often sing 3 funerals in a day, and each deserves her full attention. She cannot pace herself, she will not judge one soul as worthy. On Monday morning, Leonora's voice is just a whisper. She says, "This is Armageddon." The youth in the township leap into adult life despite the warnings of their elders. The virus claims one generation, then the next. Leonora says, "Where will the next generation come from? We are too old. Our children are buried. Our grandchildren are never to be. We're being wiped from the earth methodically, completely. And all we can do is sing to heaven, sing and pray till we have no voices left to call on God." Leonora sings, "Lord have mercy." Leonora sings, "Suffer little children." Leonora sings, "Così sikelele Africa." God bless Africa. God save Africa. Young children with this disease live as pariahs. They stay at home and sit while others work. They do not help prepare food. They do not run and play. They may not touch the things around them for fear of bringing death to those that love them. Leonora sings, "Lord have mercy." Leonora sings, "Suffer little children." Leonora sings. On Monday morning in the false shelter of Table Mountain, Leonora whispers, "Così sikelele Africa." God bless Africa. God save Africa.
So a 20-year-old story. Reminded yet again of Mark Twain's quote about history not repeating but maybe rhyming. Reminded yet again.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy. Sam has had to move out of our flat. That's still speaking of 20 years ago.
Right.
Okay. Well.
Oh, I hope the new
Bon
place is
voyage.
good.
Yeah, still in town, I believe. Still in the village there at Jamboree. Yeah. So another story that came back from that time, but a little further in the trip, as we wandered. It was a wedding, wasn't it? I don't know if you said that.
Yeah, it
so,
was
but
Meg's wedding.
Yeah,
So my
so
cousin's wedding.
We were
And
playing every day and every night, it seemed, and hearing some amazing
just
music.
for fun.
and,
Just with a lot of people.
It was just so fun. They were some of the actual gigs of my life. There
was the social club at Twist Break was pretty huge.
And hearing music at Mama Africa in Cape
yeah.
Town. That's one of the nicest, best live music performances I think I've ever had. But anyway, we played a lot of braais, ate a lot, drank a lot.
And we stayed at Ullersfontein with my aunt and uncle, which is a wonderful old farmhouse halfway up the cliff, halfway up the hill, the mountain. And it's a very dry part of the Northern Cape, but it's right on the Orange River. So they can farm the edge of the river. They have irrigation, and then on top of the mountain there's nothing really but goats. Yeah, so it's the two extremes.
As a kid who came off various farms, and walking into South Africa, you see this little spot with the river, and you just think farm and forever. You can kind of see it just looks like the right spot if you want water.
Yeah, there's water. And just across the river is Lobl North. There's a town just across the river. So my aunt and uncle told us this story about when all their kids had grown up and left. And they were there. And they said, you know what, we've got this great big house. We have this farm. We really should have some kids. Why don't we get some of the kids? We'll get 3 kids from the orphanage and let them have a real holiday for I think it was going to just be a couple of weeks. And things didn't turn out quite as they planned. Although I do think that the couple of weeks was pretty magical. So I wrote this song.
So it's a South African one too. I think both of them were written.
What was words?
90% of them were completed just when we came back from South Africa, and this one went into the sets a bit. And Leonora
this one made it
didn't.
onto a voice that was still a CD.
Yeah, so that album was a couple of years later down the track. But
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Dot.
And it has a repeating line chorus
Thank you,
in
Carol.
grand folky fashion.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's
If
okay.
you'd like to sing. High over the valley, an old white house stands where the road winds to the river and away. And it looks to the town at the edge of its lands, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. Let's do what we can, said the old farmer's wife, where the road winds to the river and away, to give 3 orphan children a break from hard life, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. The orphanage stands on a bare patch of ground, where the road winds to the river and away. 6 kids on the veranda that runs halfway around, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. 3 children look lively at each passing sound, where the road winds to the river and away. 3 heads are hanging, looking down at the ground, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. Just look lonely, they're swinging their feet, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. The farmer's wife smiles, and where are you going to play, where the road winds to the river and away? Nobody wants us, so we have to stay, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. Now that farmer, he's thinking quite fast and quite hard, where the road winds to the river and away. He's got 6 kids for the holidays all over the yard, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. Got so much space, where the road winds to the river and away. I'll be good and work hard, and I'll help round the place, while the sun shines on the mountain every day. Now the big house seems quiet in a soft autumn rain, where the road winds to the river and away. With her heart in 6 pieces, she's sighing never again, while the sun shines on the mountain every day.
So, 2 songs of home of a different kind.
I always like to say, if people didn't quite catch the story in my words, so they took home 6 kids because there were 3 kids who had nowhere to go that holiday. And they had a great time, but at the end of the holiday, all 6 wanted to stay. And they couldn't choose, and they couldn't say yes to 6. So they all had to go back to the orphanage again, which I think was very sad. But still,
Roger
I'm glad
Phyl.
they had that time.
Me too. I mean, what more could you ask? I mean, a lot of my school holidays, whether we were living on farms, which was most of the time, I guess, or not, a lot of my school holidays were just here at Bellevue on the farm, and they were the best holidays, but I kind of knew I got to go home to the farm too, and to the family. Very different story. Judy, loving all these songs. Fantastic. It's great. Lovely messages we can read later on. Roger's, and I had some idea of this, but not the detail. Roger Finlay's talking about living in South Africa. Yeah. You were clear, you lived there till you were 11 and came out in
so
84.
I came out to go into year 7 here. Yeah.
As the youngest of the kids. Yeah. So yes, 2 songs of home in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
When we think of home, we think of tunes like this one, The Great Rosin the Bow, or The Catalpa, even better. When we think of home, we think of, I don't know, it's amazing how often, not amazing, it's really not surprising at all that we end up in Gulgong quite a lot. Because, the Lawson connection and so much music. It's a bit chicken or eggy, there's so much music from the Sofala Hill and Mudgee Gulgong area because that's where Merrow went, in those first days, and in particular in that second wave. My favourite ever book of Australian, and probably my first real book of Australian folk music, and the stories is Folk Songs 2, Volume 2. The stories and the tunes. And when we think of home, we think of John Dengate.
Of course. Yes. And this is one of his settings.
I've never felt like music was as close to my home as hearing John for the first time in concert. Still the case. Had a way of singing about his family or whatever he was singing about, but you knew you were there in the song, whatever. And if you weren't there, your family was. That sort of thing. I guess the more we got to know John, the more we sort of saw how that wasn't that surprising, culturally speaking. There was lots of things in common. But first and foremost, it was the music. And John used to say, a good tune is far too important for one set of words. So we have the Gulgong song. I'm hoping a couple of you out there can sing along anyway, all you Gulgongites and locals to close by. And if you've heard us over the last couple of years doing Saturday streaming, you've probably heard us tinkle this one out occasionally. We're going to go, at the end of the song, which I always hear in the Gulgong Opera House, I don't know about you, the Centennial Hotel maybe. At the end we'll go into 2 tunes from the Mudgee Gulgong area too. We've got the 2 favourites, Chloe. The Jackarse Eat It on the Way. Yep. We've run this guessing competition before, but what did the Jackarse eat?
They might know by now, do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Some of them might.
For those who prepared earlier, a little clue, it's the wedding cake. Sorry. And the second tune is, from a bit further north, one of Bruce Smith's set tunes. Cracker. Or collector tunes, these ones.
Yes, I always have visions of Roger staring at me over his bow.
And all the other various on-stage looks that collector used to have. Looks, sounds, smells. Shall see that Jackarse eating the cake.
I was reminded of Alan. It's funny how tunes always
Alan
evoke
Musgrove.
people. Yeah, Alan Musgrove, of course, played that one.
Thanks, Sam. Sorry, Carol, a bit of sound issues out there. I think the internet
really?
seems to be going okay at our end. YouTube's coming, I hope. Little red dots on. Obscure references to tech stuff. But welcome, everybody, if you're just tuning in. And, thanks for the company. We're all thinking about home and rolling out the Saturday streaming 2022 style. We're thinking of lots of reasons that we might be thinking about home. And thinking about Henry, our Henry Lawson. No one else got the hour, you see. That's the big thing about Henry. No matter which poet you rank and which academic writes which story about which author and who our great literary geniuses might be. And there are lots of people out there that might qualify, but it's Henry in the end. And this is a piece called Down and Out. Mick Griffin, it's only a fairly recent one in the repertoire, this one. Last year or two, and it was Mick Griffin, who, another Henry, tragic, we would say, Henry fan. I remember we've done lots of Henry here and there. I shouldn't say lots, but there is form with Mick Griffin and Henry Lawson. We did Past Karen.
That's right.
All back in St Albans in the 90s, and here and there with Mick playing the didgeridoo.
That was beautiful.
I remember doing I'm the Mother Bush That Called You as a poem with Mick on the didge at St Albans once too. But this one, thank you, Mick. Very good recommendation from Henry. We've had a bit of Henry letting the troubles of the world go out the window tonight, but he was pretty good at he seemed to have that ability to see all round a problem and all into someone's heart, and then from the outside again. I don't know. Thought a lot about Henry's empathy, and not trying to draw him up as a sort of perfect human being, because we know he's a long way from that, but he could definitely see inside other people and their problems, mostly because the other people in his poems are Henry, I think.
And I think if that poem of his, A Soul of a Poet, is anything to go by, he regarded that as his job, was to stand in someone's shoes and give you that side of the story.
Yeah. And you often read that bit out and quote that bit of Henry talking about, if I don't speak for people who are struggling, well, who is going to?
If we don't have an ABC, then who will? For
instance, mugs like us end up with cameras pointing at them. Bring back the ABC or we'll point more cameras at us. It's good to have your company, everybody. And thinking of those people who are struggling a bit out there and in here with... I don't know, this week feels like we've actually had to... Sometimes you'll land your Fridays and your Saturdays nicely, pull up at the counter for a nice cool drink before you... This was skidded in sideways this week, didn't we?
That's all right. It's all right. We're here.
You'll often hear them mutter, fellow men and brother men, when he's down and in the gutter, he'll never rise again. And they turn aside and beckon to the trainers of their pride. He's the one the less to reckon in the selfish race they ride. 'Tis the old deep down survival of the savage in mankind, in the triumph or arrival whom his weakness left behind. Weakness, or a vice resulting from a hell we never knew, and we go our ways exulting that our strength has pulled us through. Though we never learned to labour, love or hate or hope or doubt, but we seem better than our neighbour when our neighbour's down and out. We, in our pretended meekness, sorrow, pity, help and all, we feel stronger for his weakness. We feel nobler for his fall. Yes, hypocrisy resenteth its own self in tale and song, while the prodigal repenteth and the godly son goes wrong. But I know the shadow's stealing, where ambition broods and smarts. Jealousy, the deep down feeling in our secret heart of hearts. And while we pass in pride before him, sullen in his misery, there's a woman bending o'er him, seeing things we cannot see. Though we walk in highest places, seeming honest, straight and true, she is saying to our faces, he's a better man than you. Let us not be sure of any of our rival fellow men. I've witnessed far too many rise and fall and rise again. And the prostitute and liar rise to heaven out of hell, and the drunkard rising higher than the man who never fell. For the love of those who love him, and the contempt of those who hate, for his God, all gods above him, and the mastery of his fate. And for those brave few friends who are ever saying, staunch and true, he's a better man than you are. He's a better man than you. Henry from 1912. There's a very common idea out there of Henry. In fact, as people have, I guess, done Henry Lawson shows, put on Henry Lawson shows where we've set a lot of music and sing other settings and recite Henry around Australia, you realise that everyone comes in, or a lot of people come into a room, no matter where the room is, in a cafe in Surrey Hills or the back of a truck out in the Western Country, wherever it is, everyone comes in with a different idea of who Henry Lawson is, a very different idea being, and a strong idea all at the same time. And one of the things that you do strike often is the idea that Henry wrote all his best work in the 19th century or by the early 1890s, and I don't think that that's true at all. I love the way Henry's work progressed over that time, and the simple reading of Henry's life is one of promise to disaster, but of course it's never that simple. Never that simple, and the problems come in waves, but so does the genius, right through to the end. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Roger. So we've got time for, I think, 2 more before we finish. Oh, 3 more. Yeah, no, we can do that. I'm sure we've got time. We're not rushing anywhere. We've skidded to the end of the week, so now we're at home. It's all, this is the happy bit. No, it's all been pretty good, actually. Good work. So we're working on the St Mark's recordings. There's several different kinds of light, lots of different kinds of material, all kind of like a live gig. We went up there to record because we would normally be up working hard around the 26th of January, and we wanted to get out and work where we would, try something different and something we've been meaning to do for a long time. The little hall we thought would sound good. I didn't know it would sound as good as it did. I hadn't been in since I was a kid or since I was a teenager or something. And they've kept the wood, and it's just a beautiful sounding space.
The big wooden, the wooden plank ceiling with the cut-off corners. So it's a very pretty sound.
And also the windows and the stained glass window, but the windows all around gives you, as the sun goes overhead, gives you a whole different kinds of light. And we've used the space like a live gig, but it didn't escape us how poignant it was to be working when we would normally be working for a lot of community groups and cultural work and, that sort of utilitarian part of what we do. Trying to be thought-provoking around that 26th of January time. But what we were catching was the sound of an empty hall, of course, and notably so. I like the sound very much, but it is. We do have some gigs still hanging in the bookings at the moment, so we're fingers crossed for a few of those ones. In particular, some campfire work with the school kids. I think I keep getting drawn back to songs like this one because I miss those campfires a bit. Greg O'Leary, who was the first person I heard sing this, he said it might be
tenor voice.
Yeah, he said it might be the best Australian bush song. I think he might be right. Yeah.
blows perfume around, enticing the bird and the bee, while I lie here at rest on a fern-covered nest in the shade of a Currajong tree. And high overhead I can hear the sweet strains of a butcher bird piping her tune. For spring in her glory has come once again to the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. My swag I have carried for many's the mile, my boots are worn out at the toes, and I'm dressing this season in a far different style to those of last season, God knows. My cooking utensils, I'm sorry to say, consist of a knife and a spoon, but there's bread, beef and tea in a battered jack-shay on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. And where is the lady I've often caressed, the one with the deep dreamy eyes? She pillows her head on some other man's breast while he tells her the very same lies. I doubt now that she would be willing to share as I eat by the light of the moon. But it's little I care, for it's hard to keep square on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. And Jackie the breaker, now couldn't he ride? And Jimmy the kind-hearted boy, well, I hear that of late he has taken a bride, a Benedict's life to enjoy. And Big Jock the stockman, I once heard him say he'd wrestle the famous Muldoon, but they're all far away, and I'm lonely today on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon.
It's the left bank tonight. That's great. Reedy Lagoon. Roger's just accusing us of displaying refreshing optimism. Roger! It's easy to do when you only see us when we're singing, you see, right? You see us when we're having fun with you all kind of listening out there. This is the easy bit, right?
Yeah.
To be smiling. Yeah, we're optimistic. I mean, what else? Always looking for the open doors. It's, you know, just sometimes this has actually been the hardest stretch. There's no question. Roger's asked in a sort of back sort of way about whether we're optimistic. It has been the hardest time. We've been forced into making probably harder calls ourselves, and that's just. We speak for our family. Everyone has their own unique circumstance, and ours is as unique as anyone else's, of course.
Life's hectic. We've had to adapt to a lot and get very busy to make our days work with the homeschool, with the music, get everything to happen. But that's actually starting to tick along now. That's actually working really well. And I guess all our lives, it's always been, well, what's the next thing we have to learn? We had to learn how to record, we had to learn how to do our own recordings, we had to learn how to do CD art, and then do websites, and then do all the... So it's just the next step in the learning curve, and in some ways it's been a real joy to get off that treadmill of a lot of gigs into learning new things. So
well, that was part of our...
There is a silver lining always, isn't there?
For us, that was part of our particular circumstance, wasn't it?
That was us.
We happened to be ready for that break that was not going to come. I'm kind of over it now. I want to get back to playing life. But
yeah, people would be nice.
Yeah, but we are enjoying this. And lots of other good things happening for the patrons, not just the St. Mark's work, but all kinds of all of our vectors are leaping over the next couple of weeks, and we have 2 albums we're working on. So one of them is an album that's, I say it moves forward at a glacial pace, but we're very excited about it. The song, it's an album of traditional work in our settings of Lawson and so forth, but it's one where we've got some accomplices that are kind of very provoking and
and that one has been held up by COVID, but it's still there.
And it's still there. And the other one is an album of original work, which is, we're working. Again, it's probably coming up in a couple of weeks or another batch of work on that, but it never leaves the brain completely, working on it hard. But we've got time for a couple more tonight. It's our pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for coming, and thanks for the Patreon support. This is a piece from Crosscut Wilson. It's one we first heard in our first years on the folk scene from the great Bob Rummery, playing it on. He wrote the tune for Tom's words, so the words were written back in the very early 20th century in Western Australia. And Crosscut Wilson is an excellent poet. We sing more than one of his sets of words, and I think all of them have been set by Bob Rummery. He's got a knack for that stuff.
Just amazing. In fact, we did a whole show of Bob Rummery's songs. That's worth a look. Anyone who's interested in some really good Australian material.
Oh, one of the online shows.
Yeah, there was a Saturday streaming of Bob Rummery's songs. Definitely worth a look. He's a one-man folk machine.
Particularly glad to have the kids back involved tonight. So I hope you enjoyed that, Megan and Joanna. Nice choices, both of them.
They were.
Yeah. I think there's legs in that.
The beach one.
The beach one. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Let's hope that works. Give it a try.
1, 2, 3. Fly into the cage for the number 9. A trucker paused at the brace to say, as he left the depths of the gloomy mine, he said a man was killed in the mine today. Then the winder sang as we rushed below, and the flats flashed upward merrily, and so to toil. Yet it came to me, it's a sorrowful thing for some. Drills dash at the good grey oil, and there's labour and sweat for the company, hopes for a quote in the share list of 1 point more. There's wealth to grasp, there are dues to pay, and what is a labourer more or less with the din and the clamour? Now who would guess that a man was killed in the mine today? Skips roll on, there's a tally to make, and the stamps are hung in iron shod. But whose lips could quiver, whose heart could break? Well, there's grist for the mills of the rich man's God. Well, there's a 10 bob wage for the risk he ran. The paltry risk, if he got passed out, is nothing to worry our heads about. He opened the job for a luckier man. somebody far away, some soft-eyed woman whose tears would flow, whose cheek would pale if she did but know that a man was killed in the mine. So 100-and-something-year-old set of words. And,
Bob's excellent tune.
Roger's saying Facebook might have punted one of his comments. That's not so good. But
What did you say, Roger?
Facebook. What can we do? And we've got to be nice about the platform, or they'll kick us off. Is that
Occasionally
right?
messages disappear. I know you write posts and they vanish, and you've got to do them again.
Oh no, that's just fumble fingers, probably. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but mostly it's just
Every
damn.
now and then I hear swearing, I wrote the whole
Yeah,
thing! I wrote the whole thing!
You learn after a while that if it's going to be worth writing, probably write it in notes or on paper, or
Yeah.
do something else first. It's time to come to the end, and I think you can see something a bit themeless here. Themeless? Themeless. Our themeless nights yield themes that we don't expect. And here's a Phyl Lobl song. Couldn't think of a better way to finish. Roger, type it in again. I mean, it's probably... I don't know. I'm interested in what you had to say. We will come and look at the comments. We normally do. Normally what we'll do at the moment is we'll... obviously we're going to look after the kids and everything, but we'll look at the comments tonight, and we'll get the film and everything if it's all worked okay, and if the creeks don't rise in the meantime, we'll get the YouTube clip up fairly promptly. It seems to be
Take a day.
either Sunday night,
Yeah.
maybe Monday morning, just depending on how it all rolls through. But thanks for your company. I think the way people are out and about a lot more now, it's I think we kind of like this form for this particular season. It's a bit more relaxed in the theme sort of stakes, but it gives us a chance to try some arrangements that are new. And so thanks for
coming along.
saying fabulous themeless night. Yeah, sometimes I think they are the best ones, but we'll get back to some more meaty kind of stitched together themes eventually. But as people who've made themed albums and non-themed albums all through our lives, we know how things grow in both directions a bit. You get the between the line stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, nice just to have mini themes, I think, for a change.
But yeah, Phyl Lobl's, this song's over 30 years old, I think.
Possibly 40. I'm not sure exactly when it was written. It appeared in her Bronzewing songbook.
I don't think I'm giving too much away to say it's one of the ones we recorded for the St Mark's sessions. Right up there. Okay. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll finish with this one.
Send this one out to the koala.
The koala.
I think.
The koala and some other species we're hoping are endangered. I think you know who we mean.
All right. Once she was a timeless land where time ran on forever to the dreaming people there.
marvellous land. It's a pretty good way to end Saturday streaming number 2 for 2022.
It reminds me of a rather good night we had at the Newcastle folk club the other night, actually.
With
The excellent songs up there, my goodness.
Massive,
Yeah.
Well, keep the spirits up. Get out and about if you're out and about. Be careful if you are. And we'll see you out there somewhere. Thanks for coming. I'll just because there's a couple of new people tuning in. I'll say there's a free nights. We just hopping in on a Saturday every fortnight, and singing some of our favourite songs and trying some new ones out. And it's good to have some company. And please come, regardless of any intent or ability to pay. But there are a couple of different ways now to contribute if you do feel like it. There's our Patreon site. I still like saying that. I'm a convert because people have been so generous and helping us out. And that monthly kick along, as Chloe was saying earlier, it actually is quite a direct spark to projects that maybe are off to the side a little bit, but we've wanted to get to for a long time. So thank you, and you're very welcome. Patreon link I'll throw in.
And thank you for all the support through the donations as well, which is easy through our website if anyone else would like to do that.
Yep, or album purchases is the other way.
Yes, get some music. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you in a fortnight, if not before.
Yep.
Okay.
See you then.
Cheers.